Hi guys, I want to talk about an important concept in real estate, and it's called equity. And that is a difference between, well, let me just give you an example. Let's say you buy a house for $100,000, but you've got a mortgage for $95,000. How much, if you were to sell the house, would you actually put back into your bank account? Well, it'd be probably about $5,000, right? So at that point, you have $5,000 of equity in the property. But let's say that the real estate market's gone up over the last 5 years and your house is now worth $150,000. Well, now you have $55,000 worth of equity. If the market were to crash and your house then goes down to the value of $60,000, then you've got a negative $35,000 of equity. And that's why when the market crashes, people tend to just give up the house to the bank. So this is where the concept of equity is important. And I think if you're in the game for the long term, most people think about building that equity, paying off the bank so that they have no more mortgage. So if their house was bought at $100,000 over the next 30 years, they would then have $100,000 worth of equity, and hopefully a little bit more if the house is appreciated over 30 years, right? And then they wouldn't have to be paying rent, which would be their alternative if they weren't owning the house. So I think the big implication for the traditional buyer is that over time, they own a larger and larger portion of equity over time. And imagine it's just like, instead of paying higher rents every year, which happens to a lot of people, they would be paying lower rents. Imagine that if you were to pay $1,000 a month to rent someplace, but then the economy's gone up, so now you're paying $1,100 a month and $1,200 a month and $1,300 a month for rent. And that just keeps going up over the next 30 years, right? But if you were to pay off the house and you started at $1,000 a month paying off your mortgage, it would be $900. Imagine it's like $800. Now the payments actually don't really go down, but in a sense, a larger portion of what you're paying to the bank is paying down. It's paying down the mortgage amount. So it's going back to the example of $100,000 house. You have a $95,000 loan with the bank. And now that, let's say you've got it down to $50,000, about half, let's say, well, out of that $1,000 that you're paying to the bank, $500 of it might be interest. I'm just, giving an example. $500 might be interest now, and then $500 is paying off the bank. Whereas when you were initially paying off the mortgage, out of the $1,000 a month that you're paying to the bank, $900 might be interest and $100 might be paying off the bank, So I hope that clarifies a little bit. There's a lot of concepts here, but the overall idea is that by owning real estate over a long period of time, you are reducing your ownership allows you to not have to pay rent, to own a larger portion of the home value called equity, and hopefully to own an asset that you could actually pass down to your children as well. So if you pass away and your house is worth more, like let's say $200,000, you wouldn't have to pay taxes and they wouldn't have to pay taxes, because the tax basis of the house would reset at the time of your death. So then now your $100,000 home value become $200,000 home value. You pay off your mortgage. Your equity now worth $200,000, tax-free. So, okay, well, I hope that helps clarify a few things. And you guys have a great day. Until the next video, see you later.